Start out, and then all of a sudden, to another subject.
Not sure, but cameras have IP addresses, but at least if there's.
Ready?
Maybe.
I didn't hear it.
You can hear?
All right, so I'm gonna leave the video off until you do that part, okay?
Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, we didn't change anything.
No cameras at this point, because we did improvise in a different laptop. There is audio here on YouTube, so if folks are watching, they can hear us. Michael's gonna try to do the cameras while we're sitting here, so maybe cameras will come up, but for now, they're just, everybody.
We're going to call the meeting to order at 9:22. This is a special meeting of the Benson County Board of Commissioners, meeting in the Frank Walter House Boardroom. I would ask, remind the commissioners that because we're using audio today, please try to lean into the microphones as you're speaking so that everyone can hear us. Thank you, roll call, please.
Jeanette,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
Nancy,
Here.
and here, Roloff,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Greg, here, present.
You stand for the invocation and pledge. Mary, if you would please. Gracious God, as we come before you today to discuss important matters, we ask for your guidance and wisdom. Help us to focus on our community and be thankful for all our blessings. In your name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Advance of the meeting, this is a special meeting.
Yeah,
So
but I
we
can't.
stick
That's
to this
Yeah.
agenda.
No, you're good.
If I could get a motion, please. The agenda presented. Support. Henry, Bob supports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First public input. Anybody like to make a comment?
Lincoln Township held a legal closed session, Hurricane. Lincoln Township held a legal closed session and denied the public the right to present their views, and they prohibited the public from having a meaningful opportunity to participate in the decision-making process regarding their sale of real property owned by the taxpayers and residents of Lincoln Township. They made a vague decision that did not comply with their OMA after they held that session. This is what your meeting is premised on today, that decision. The closed session exception found in the OMA that allows you to go in closed session, that allowed you to go in closed session last Tuesday, reads as follows. To consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that property is obtained. The purpose of this exemption is to keep sellers from strategically sitting in your open meeting while you discuss how much you're really willing to pay for real estate you're considering purchasing for them. After you came out of that closed session last Tuesday, no decision regarding the purchase of that property was made during your open meeting. Although the memo from your county administrator in that meeting's packet said you would take any action regarding that matter in an open meeting. Benzonia Township met the next day, last Wednesday, and illegally considered in closed session a confidential notice of intent from you to purchase their real property, along with considering two other purchase offers in that closed session. I was able to figure this out going back and looking at your agenda and meeting packet. That's the only way I figured it out. Based on that revelation, it now appears as though this board effectually delegated your county administrator to submit a notice of intent to purchase property from the township for $365,000 during the closed session you held last Tuesday. The definition of a decision is a determination, action, vote, or disposition on a motion, proposal, recommendation, resolution, order, ordinance, bill, or measure upon which a vote of members of a public body is required, and by which a public body effectuates or formulates public policy. I believe that this issue is litigated. The circuit court would find that the act of submitting a notice of intent to purchase property for $365,000 was a decision, regardless of whether your administrator did so unilaterally, acting as an individual that was delegated by this public body to do so. Clearly, officially notifying the seller that you desire to purchase their property is effectuating or formulating public policy. I don't think that that was an intentional violation by this board. However, I think it's clear that a decision or a consensus was reached in your closed session last week that led your administrator to believe they had the authority to submit a notice of intent to purchase property from the township. As you know, all decisions of a public body must be made during an open meeting. I think you can take corrective action right now to reenact last week's meeting and put on the record that you made the decision to authorize your administrator to submit that notice of intent to Benzonia Township. As it pertains to Benzonia Township's illegal closed session, that they called to consider your notice of intent and two other offers to purchase their property, the only exemption that I cited above clearly only applies to a public body that is considered purchasing property, not selling property. Benzonia Township's vague decision to endorse your notice of intent to purchase their property could possibly be invalidated by the circuit court if someone were to sue them for secretly considering a notice of intent in closed session. You should not rely on a non-specific decision when you decide whether to submit a formal purchase offer today. Benzonia's attorneys have published an article online and agrees with me of whether a public body can consider the sale of a real property in closed session. I forwarded that information to you all this morning in an email, along with a link to a Michigan Attorney General opinions that's on that topic as well. Foster Swift, the attorney that represents Benzonia Township, I asked the township to pause at that meeting. Commissioner Nye was there and to consult with their attorney before they did so. If they would have done that, I couldn't research this because they have no public Wi-Fi there. They would have found, like I did, right after I left that meeting, an article from their own attorneys. This reaches the beginning. Can townships discuss the sale of township property in closed session? No, that's the first part. And it's based on the attorney general opinion. So I think you should take corrective action about what happened last week. I don't think he intended to do anything wrong, but he made it, the administrator made a decision on your behalf that effectuated formulate public policy by linking that notice of intent in that offer.
Anybody else would like to speak? And close public, comment. I'm gonna ask you to add this to subject, but before you do, prior to our meeting last week, did you consult with the attorney and what was the appropriate way for us to go into closed session and come out of closed session?
Yeah.
And we followed their instructions, correct?
Yeah, it's point blank asked very specific questions.
And with respect to what happened at the Benzonia Township, that's simply out of our purview. It has nothing to do with us at all.
Correct, that's their acknowledgement.
Okay. Would you introduce the subject, please?
So the discussion today is related to the letter of intent to purchase Benzonia Township property, as commonly known as 1020 Michigan Avenue. What would be important today is to approve that letter of intent as signed by Benzonia Township, authorizing the chair to sign, but then further authorize the corporation to work with the village of that property and to bring forward a purchase agreement at a future meeting acted upon by this board in a public session based on the findings of the due diligence. Oh,
So you have the, letter of intent that's been distributed.
everybody has it.
It looks like Benzonia Township is already, responding to it.
Yeah, based on that.
And what action are you asking us to do today?
Well, I'm asking you to authorize and accept the letter of intent, authorize yourself to also sign it below Jason, and then authorize the administration to start looking at due diligence of the property. with state agents and most of the things, and then with the expectation that the findings and purchase agreement will come back from the board. At that time, we discuss the findings and would act on whether or not to approve that purchase agreement on that property.
We had a discussion regarding, the process. And I had shared with you that my experiences were a little different, that we'd be at a point now where we would be executing an agreement, a purchase agreement. Can you explain why we are using the letter of intent that's already been accepted by them and not now moving to or a purchase agreement?
Both of them, having this morning, two councils. Of them, and he indicated that this step in the process made more sense than to move right up to a physical agreement. Because once the purchase agreement is in place, there's no opportunity to go back into closed session. And there could be during the due diligence findings where there's something that maybe the county walks away, maybe the county is different offer or so forth. You have the opportunity to talk about that in session once that's like, so this would give you an additional time to have those discussions, to evaluate those different things, and to go into closed session if it was needed, to discuss anything further before that purchase agreement is put in place in the public.
And based on my experience, what this doesn't allow us to do is to tie the property up. They could continue to accept other offers while we're doing our due diligence, is that correct?
That's correct. So, the notice of, or notice, letter of intent is a non-binding agreement, right? If they are put in the door and we're starting this process. So if Benzonia Township were to consider additional offers or so forth, there's nothing saying that they cannot do that. That would come later with a purchase agreement, which says, hey, you know, we're gonna move through this, don't accept any more offers, that sort of thing. This would give them the opportunity to continue those discussions if somebody were to come along, say with a higher offer or anything.
Please.
I share the sentiment that this is a process that I'm not familiar with in my property purchasing experience, so I do want to be sensitive to the fact that the township may have to.
Outside of our purview, I'm looking very clear that our letter of intent specifically says that our conditions of confidentiality was except as may be required by law. So we weren't offering them legal advice at all. We were just simply writing an offer that's in our best interest. How they execute it is up to them. Any other questions? If there's not, then I believe that we have a motion in front of us, that would be appropriate and
I would just like to offer, one point. The buyer's packet, so forth, the one pager of the property, but this documentation provided by the realtor. And within that packet that was provided to us, it is the wrong survey. It's my understanding that, information available, but that is wrong in their packet of information given to the buyer. And with that, I would note that within the letter, all the address is correct and the property described. No property is, the technical statistics and the description provided by the real estate agent is actually wrong. So these, your documents come forward to the board. I'll make sure to get them correctly with the description from. Hopefully.
And that's all part of the due diligence process. And as the seller, they're responsible to make sure you have accurate information. Any other comments on that page? Anybody care to?
Yes. Make a motion that the Board of Commissioners approves the letter of intent to purchase 1020 Michigan Avenue and authorizes the chair to sign and further authorizes administration to work through due diligence of purchase and bring back findings with a draft purchase agreement.
Roll up, will support. Additional comments or questions? Roll call, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Rolla,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes. Staying on this subject, this is drawn some interest in the community, both from citizens of Pennsylvania Township, especially people that monitor the county's activity. We have this letter of intent. We're going to put to the board your opinion on whether we want to release this upon request, or do we want this to go through the FOIA process? I'd be interested in your feedback.
Yes, I have one question.
Please.
We know that, Pennsylvania Township residents are aware of what we plan to do with this property.
Brian, you be closer to that with me.
Over the years, Pennsylvania Township in this area has been looking to have any EMS stations in their area, in their region. I can't believe that anybody doesn't want it.
I'd share your feelings too, but. And this is a win-win.
I think so.
Appreciate your insight. Going back to my question. Does anybody feel strongly one way or the other?
Thank you for being transparent. I mean, a lot of requests seems logical to me. If we have to require somebody to use FOIA to get that information, to me, that's all disingenuous. I think leave it out there and let people decide, but it does get the word out too from an official channel as well.
Yes, my concern right now is that there's inaccurate information. The legal description is not correct. Where you're making available information that's not accurate. So if we're corrected.
Right.
And we were, I have a point where, I mean, that gives me thought.
That makes sense. Well, I want that good information out there.
Plan to have the letter updated with the correct information.
Other than having brother. And I said, I'm biased. I feel like I should give 99.9% of the information to the public, but that's my opinion. And we looked at the information that we had to give the administrator, the utility chairman, right?
But if you do not release it, then somebody would have pointed out. So you're gonna back there.
which contradicts some statement that's been made here today. And unless we make this available to discuss, I don't know how we have that conversation. No, I'm talking about the fact that we have said this is a letter of intent, it does not close the door to the township considering any other offers or, it's not binding. But there is a clause near the end of this which can contradict that.
Is that confidentiality clause?
Yeah, so that's the last one. Fired.
Well, it's, we already discussed the second meeting. Because conference opens.
It's probably letter of offer, so. Well, I think you're right. Let's hope that-
Well, the fact is, I look at the last sentence of that paragraph. This also, what we've been saying is they still have the option to negotiate, and this says, you don't.
It's the legal conversation I have been for, with even the county with that, and this letter.
Well, I'm not in a position to make motions as a chair. I certainly am comfortable with releasing this. If the rest of you or the majority feel like you prefer not to, then I accept that decision.
Fire.
James is going to discuss the property discussion. Like you just told. You want to have more conversation on this?
I would, I mean, I was.
Go ahead, man. Just curious, just to say, if requested.
We have a contract file. We've identified that what our understanding, what our attorney has told us is happening is not reflected in this document, that it appears that there could be a contradictory statement. I don't want to leave this meeting not understanding what the intent of this document is. Does everybody else feel comfortable that you understand what's being said here? Because if you're asked, can the township still receive offers before we sign a purchase agreement? What is your answer gonna be? I'm gonna struggle. I would say. Start that question, if we think we have to sign a new one. Because we have to start. It's not that I don't want to change the letter right now. That was also then going to happen. And again, I mean, this is a strange order to me to purchase property, write a letter and instead of having an accepted purchase agreement, which would close that door. It seems odd to me to make an offer, have a signed document, and yet other offers are still allowed to be received. Right, so.
Explain that this factor doesn't have a lot of team.
We have to reiterate on finding.
And we will see a purchase agreement, till after this is done.
I mean, it is.
Yeah. We have, We have 30 days in that.
Talk about editing, oh, I can't speak to the document, right, because it hasn't got approved to be done. Because then that's contradicted, what you just said, in another paragraph, labeled diligent. That sets another timeline. That's additional.
Says 30 days from the date of purchase agreement execution. Well, in any case, looks like we're gonna be looking at this again before purchase agreement is signed. We're wanting to get started. First off, we're wanting to make sure that we're taking the appropriate steps that we need to take. And then we want to get started on due diligence. I'm not gonna tell you that I agree 100% of this letter either, but this is what legal counsel is given me. So we have a motion to support and release this upon request for the public authorizing the administrative.
Correct.
Yeah, based on comments.
Yeah.
So it's not ready today.
No.
Is there any comments or questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to restate what the corrections are going to be.
I understand you, I'm correct in premises, not. And then only. Striking the last sentence of the. To allow them to start on offer very.
If that makes it cleaner. Right. Not doing the perfect document, no matter what we do, but. I would run on that, I would feel better knowing that that's out of there, so there isn't someone looking at that some. Yeah, so or something like that, oh, hey, these don't match, one more thing to. Throw a snag our way, I prefer to have that. Completely gone unless there's somebody can make a compelling reason why it needs to stay in there.
Well, the only caveat is that highlighted and underscored says, except what may be required by law. So we can ask for anything we want, sure, if they've got to file the legal.
It seems like a bizarre process. You know, we're supposed to go in a closed session to not tip our hand about what we're offering to be able to, use like this letter of intent to negate that, tip your hand, and I don't understand why we're doing the process this way, but what I do understand is we are being led by council, which is always the appropriate thing to do as an entity. But if our attorney were present at this meeting, I would have questions why this is the route.
So again, in the motion of support, authorizing the administration to release this letter of intent on request after the change of revenue. And what I'm hearing, I heard one person say they want to strike that last sentence, the last paragraph. Honestly, I don't feel passionately about it one way or the other. It's just up to them to follow legal counsel and their.
The reason I think it's imperative that we strike that is because the whole purpose of them doing that in open session was to keep the door open to negotiation, is what the Foster Swift opinion said. And if we prohibit them from doing that, then our cause, reopen the township's ability to, they can be challenged. You close the door in closed session.
Well, I want to make clear though, they took action in open session, they did not condemn closed session. Their action was taken in open session.
Guess if they didn't want to accept it, they didn't have to sign it.
Are we binding them from not accepting other offers in the way this really do?
Defines. That was the big thing about this letter of intent, not legally binding. And I think that was discussed, that we can put things in there. But that doesn't mean that they have to hear them because this is.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, so it could be, this could be big debt, and another offer to be accepted. And I use that because that's the urban ethics. Yeah, okay,
We've been,
all right.
we've heard times that are not legally binding.
Okay.
From the other.
What's your question?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Appreciate the conversation, folks. I'll open up our last public input.
Hi, I'm Jana Goldman from Honor, and this is my first time being at a Board of Commissioners meeting. I thought it would be short because there was only one item on the agenda, but thank you all for your service. I just wanted to find out what the property was and the intended use, and I think that question has been answered. So this is the former Township Hall building. And it would be, the intent would be for an auxiliary EMS. Is that correct?
Generally, during public input, we don't engage, but if you wouldn't mind the exception, then that's your district, you'd like to comment to that?
Well, it depends where an option is, but, the intent is put in EMS.
Okay, great. Great, thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot the other thing. It was input in that question, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Your fan do some better things. How I was able to figure it out was the question in your agenda. Last Tuesday. To consider purchasing property or EMS, which says that. That's how the put two together. After zoning, that was very legal process. Clearly. That zoning township has unedited version of your most of the intent that has the errors that you're all discussing correctly, which is avoidable from them, and even the erroneous version, the correct, is avoidable. So it gets out of the bag, and you've already made any potential ability to redact by releasing it to a third party, even if there's some privilege information in there as well. That's already done. So trying to redact it or change it, this version, next version, both versions are full of I think the real issue as the board, I think we should question your attorney is how this process occurred. You legally went on the process. Consider a purchase of that zone. Your memo that you received from an administrator indicated any action you take will be done in open. And her memo said, you came out of it, no actions. During an open, but yet this notice of intent with the unwillingness provisions is submitted to Benzoning Township. It doesn't get put on their agenda, and it just comes up at the beginning of the meeting before public comment is even allowed. And there's other individuals that have submitted offers on this piece of property that were pending. And then the township is like, you don't care if I have any open meeting act on that, because I was vocally saying, you can't do this. I'm advising you to get legal advice before you go into closed session. And Jason Bernard is like, we're just gonna win. Paraphrasing, but that was his attitude. Ron was there. And the decision that Katie made, you know, what happened after coming out of that closed session, it was clear there was a consensus building that occurred in that closed session to me that led her to believe that she had unilateral authority to submit that notice of intent to Benzonia Township. So I would ask, what board policy, what past practice would allow your county administrator, any county administrator, to Benzonia, or to Benzonia? You submit a notice of intent to purchase property for $365,000. $365,000, that's way above the $20,000 minimum, maximum that she was reported, in my experience. So that's in the city. And I think the legal counsel telling you that nothing with the decision, you know, you didn't make it on open, during an open meeting, is very long. You can't get you sued. Because you basically delegated for the feedback. That's your closed session. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Close public comment and move for adjournment at 9:57.
Motion to adjourn.
Any opposed?